Hi, everybody. I'll try to get close to the microphone. So I'm Amy Calter. I am from Washington University in St. Louis in the U.S. I'm really excited to be presenting today. I have been involved with the hot topic sessions for a while now, and I'm excited to have this many people. It's going to be a real challenge to have. My favorite part is always the group conversations, and we're going to have a challenge. Okay, we'll do our best. So I wanted to start with the question that is built into the title of our session today of will AI change the mission of academic and research libraries? My personal answer is no, but, and I think it's that but that is the place that we have a lot of our conversation. I see mission as core. I see research libraries having a role in facilitating and supporting access to data, information, and knowledge. That role is going to exist and is going to be core to what we do. The way that we do that, as my colleagues have demonstrated, has always changed and evolved and will continue to change and evolve. And the AI tools, and particularly large language models, are a big step in that evolution. So, I've got this little uncertainty bubble here. There's a lot of change right now. We're in a period of flux, and there is certainly some uncertainty. There is also a lot of opportunity. Those two go hand in hand. So one of the biggest challenges right now is the remarkable pace of change. Large language models became a thing when really, in the public imagination, when ChatGPT 3.5 was launched. That happened, OpenAI launched it on November 30th, 2022, so less than a year ago. In 5 days, more than 1 million people signed up to use it, so it really did take off, and as soon as it did, you quickly saw other LLM tools become more accessible to the public. Google launched Bard, Meta has Llama 2, Microsoft has its new Bing. OpenAI has a new version of ChatGPT out there, although 3.5 is still the one that most people are using. In that less than a year, the conversation around these topics has really changed, and the markets definitely see that. Industry is always going to have an important role to play here. I just got this email of this little newsletter from Goldman Sachs, I think last week, where they forecast investment in AI to grow to $200 billion globally by 2025. That kind of investment is going to have an impact across a whole lot of different industries. So, what's the technology we're talking about? I've focused on large language models, or LLMs. They're a part of a class of tools known as generative AI, which produces content of different types. So there's forms of generative AI that might produce images or video. LLMs are text-based, so you can see how there'd be a library connection. Specifically, an LLM is a deep learning model that has been trained using vector maps of relationships between words in a text base, and then performs natural language processing tasks. These include recognizing, summarizing, translating, and generating text. They're capable of asking or answering questions, and particularly ChatGPT can even be conversational. So they do sound much more human. I think you're sort of required to include a quote from ChatGPT in a lot of these presentations, but it's also really a good way to just give a brief insight into the kind of into the potential for the tool. I asked ChatGPT to describe generative AI in the style of Jane Austen. It's kind of weird, but this took seconds to generate. I spent more time on any other slide in this deck. This one, I got put together really quickly. If you have not gone in there and even just tried 1 or 2 prompts, I think it's important to do that because it really does give you some quick insight into the potential, but also the limitations of the tool. And some of those limitations are significant. The folks at OpenAI have seen fit to put 3 of them on the website for ChatGPT, so I pulled this right off of there. The third of these, the limited knowledge of world events after 2021, is very much tied to the text set that it has been trained off of. That feels like a solvable problem as you sort of change and adjust the text sets that are being used for the training. The other 2 are much more interesting to think about. Hallucination, which is may occasionally generate incorrect information, as they phrase it, is more commonly called hallucination. It's kind of amusing, but really serious. Basically, LLMs like to make things up. There are predictive text engines. Their predictions are not always grounded in fact. It's just good solid text. There are examples of LLMs that have produced citations to articles that don't exist, and librarians chasing around for the citations. But they create quotes. They can invent data. You really have to be ready to fact check if you're going to use this in any kind of this tool in a serious way. Bias is an even more significant concern. I said that LLMs are trained from a text base. That text is produced by humans, and the fact of the matter is that human biases are reflected in the text that humans produce. What that means is that those texts get encoded into the chat themselves. The tool actually has those biases that are encoded into the text, encoded into the tool. There is this tendency to assume that if you're letting the algorithm do the work, that you are taking the human element out of it, and in this case, that's simply not true. That human element, that bias is built in. There is certainly work being done to address issues of bias, but it's a difficult one to sort of take out of the tool the way the Okay, so applications that we're seeing for the tools in these early and uncertain days. I think my colleagues have talked about some really interesting ones. I'm looking at a couple of sort of library relevant areas. Academia, I'm coming from an academic library myself. In the immediate wake of ChatGPT's launch, the campus discussions really tended to center around pedagogy. How are we going to manage students' use of ChatGPT? I had a great conversation with a faculty member whose students, the quality of the students' work improved dramatically, very quickly, and she was quite certain that this did not reflect an increased comprehension of the material, but it was sort of not quite certain how to respond. There's been a quick market response to that. Tools like Turnitin that have been doing that have existed for a while to do to detect plagiarism have been modified to detect AI. But most of the faculty members that I am talking to are not necessarily interested in just banning the tool and banning the use of it. They're really looking for ways to integrate the tool into their pedagogical work. To revise their syllabi and really integrate the tool appropriately, and students are interested in that as well. So that's a real opportunity for libraries like mine that do have a role in library in instruction and supporting pedagogy. Researchers are of course looking to use LLMs also in their research. Universities are crafting policy to guide that. I got a memo a little over a week ago from my university saying that they, quote, support and encourage the responsible and secure exploration of AI tools, but that must be done with, and again, quote, information security, data privacy, compliance, copyright, and academic integrity in mind. and they spent a fair amount of time going through the existing university policies and talking about how to, the university's thoughts on how to apply them to AI. And I think there's a piece of that has to go on in libraries too, as we think about some of the policies and the way that we think about using existing tools, how we can apply that to some of the significant issues around privacy and the things that we've already talked about. Publishing, I want to touch very briefly on. It's there's already in the commercial world. There's also already some great examples of AI spam. Amazon is apparently being flooded by AI-generated travel guides that are just kind of putting them out there. Seeing less of that in academic publishing, but there is an awful lot of talk about what kind of guidance and looking for guidance on how to use the tool. The U.S. Copyright Office issued some guidance in March saying that AI can't be an author because it doesn't meet the human authorship component required for copyright, but you still have this duty to disclose the use of AI, and there's still a lot of lack of clarity how to do that. Journal publishers are following suit. Most journals these days have some kind of guidance about how they want the use of AI. They generally won't allow AI to be an author, although ChatGPT did get some citations in there before a lot of these policies came into place. And you generally do have to disclose some kind of contribution. That, of course, then is something that libraries have to consider as things are moving forward. And publishers are then also looking to use ChatGPT and other LLMs to assess their own workflows. Building things that there's a lot being talked about is chat and discovery systems. Libraries are doing the same, and Sapphire did a great job of running through the list of some of the ways that libraries are looking to integrate AI. I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time on that. But I will just, that really does point to what I said at the beginning. There's a lot of change. There is also a lot of opportunity. This is a rising tide, and there is certainly a call to look at what kinds of skill sets need to be built and how we are going to integrate this tool into the work that I expect that we are going to continue to do effectively. So, my questions. I think the policy and procedure question is a good one. Does your organization have policies or procedures already in place that impact the use of large language models or other AI tools? If so, have you seen an impact from that? What level of capacity does your staff have? Do you and your staff have to educate users and patrons and others about the use of LLMs? I think that we've talked a lot about the role that library has in education, but of course we need to be educated ourselves in order to do that. I think that is the reason we're seeing so many AI conversations at this meeting. And then I'm just interested in understanding what role you see LLMs playing in the next 5 years, or we could go out to 30 years as